Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, and radio network. What do we have in store for you on this edition of the program? A little college football playoff perfection. What a great semifinal showcase. And now we have a good old-fashioned Rose Bowl in the national championship game. Michigan, Washington, only unbeaten teams left, squaring off. And, we move past now the four-tiered system or the four-team system. We had it for 10 years, 10 go-rounds. We had the BCS in place for 14, 15 go-rounds. So, okay, this didn't quite last as long. And where we're going actually fixes a good chunk of our problems this year. Not all of them, but a good chunk. And once you change your mindset, you can kind of grasp where college sports is going. So we're going to dive into that. Also, a little NFL pitch. Final week of the year. I'm going to lay out the perfect scenario given the teams that actually can make the playoffs this year for the National Football League. We know the Niners and the Ravens are the buys. What 6 matchups, 12 teams, need to join them in what order to give us a fantastic wild card round? And we're going to wrap with a little coaching call out as we look at potential places in the National Football League and who is the right fit as of now for those potential places. Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp on Sports Twitter, at Harp on Sports Instagram, Harp on Sports auditory route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Harp on Sports Facebook page, Harp on Sports, the YouTube channel under the bar, and of course, harponsports.com. A little college football playoff perfection. Alabama, Michigan, Washington, Texas. It was not perfect because no such thing as perfect. It was pretty close. Pretty close what we got in the semifinals. Considering you look back over the course of the last few years, last year, what did we get? We got a couple good games last year too. So what was a long time dud in this thing, actually the last 2 years has given us 4 memorable games. TCU's upset of Michigan. Ohio State coming up just short, missed field goal against Georgia. Then we had a blowout in the championship game, but semifinals this year, good. So this thing got ugly at times in the last decade. It ends on a high note. Now, controversies aside and what went into these matchups and Florida State getting left out and all the anger and hostility, ratings are in. 2 top 10 games in terms of all time of this sucker. Considering we've had, 18 of these things, and these 2 are in the top 10? Saying something. It's interesting because the New Year's Eve ones just get smoked in the ratings as compared to the New Year's Day ones, but you kind of expect that. I look at it like this. A lot of the anger and the vitriol just goes away naturally next year. The minute you add 8 more teams to this, the opt-outs change dramatically. Who wouldn't have opted out this year? Well, if LSU was in, Jaden Daniels wouldn't have. Marvin Harrison Jr. wouldn't have. At Ohio State, Florida State guys wouldn't have opted out. You solve 75% of the anger from the opt-outs the minute you go to 12. Now, there's certain instances that you're not going to make it perfect. Wisconsin had a lot of guys opt out. Notre Dame had a lot of starters opt out. Oregon State, the coaching staff left. A lot of guys opt out. They're not going to make it all work. And how do we fix this? How do we stop this? You don't stop it completely. You don't. Just like when coaches leave, you don't stop it completely. I think of the years, look, that we saw Cincinnati get smoked by Florida when Brian Kelly left. You're not going to make this perfect. One way or another, when a coach leaves, it's not going to be the same. It's just not. This has been going on for 40 years in bowl games, if not longer. Coach leaves, boom, you got a different scenario on your hand. And there's no perfect way to do this. You could pay them $1 million and they're not going to stay. Like Sam Hartman, the quarterback at Notre Dame, why would he stay? Why would he play in the game? What does he have to gain? Bo Nix wants to play. That's fine. That's fine. But May at North Carolina, there are certain instances. Caleb Williams at USC, why? Well, it's the right thing. Oh, guys, I got $40 million waiting me. Well, it's the right. No. What's the smart thing to do? It's funny because everybody wants these guys to play for their own selfishness, but the minute those guys are selfish, no. The minute they, because it's their life and their future, I'd play no matter what. It's kind of like the concussion thing. You play no matter what. Yeah, different mindset. Different mindset when it's them, not you. And you're not going to fix all this. I just gave you examples of Marvin Harrison Jr., the Florida State guys play. Maybe Jaden Daniels plays if LSU makes the playoff next year in this scenario. The Notre Dame guys opt out still. Drake May still opts out. Caleb Williams still opts out. You're not going to make it perfect. You're just not. But it eliminates 70% of those things. And once you change your mindset to bowl games are nothing more than early spring games, you're set. The minute you change that mindset, these are no longer bowl games, these are early spring games. I watched Wisconsin LSU in the ReliaQuest Bowl as it's an early spring game. Notre Dame, Oregon State, early spring game. Now, Georgia smoking Florida State, you're going to have those things. Missouri, Ohio State, early spring game. A spring game inter-squad or scrimmage against another, like a spring training baseball game. A preseason football game. If you approach bowl games like they're preseason college football games, it makes it a lot easier. They've been exhibitions forever. It's what they are. But it requires you as a fan and a consumer of the product to change your mindset. Expectations. So, look, I've heard a lot of suggestions about how you can't make anybody do anything and it will make them stay. How are you going to make somebody stay? Well, you don't pay them all their NIL money. Look, if I am investing, let's say I am company X and I am paying, I don't know, let's say DJ Lagway, Florida's quarterback next year. And I am, I don't know, AT&T and I'm paying him to be a sponsor. I'm not going to not pay him if he says, I don't want to play in the bowl game. I've already invested millions in him. I want him to be a sponsor at the next level. I'm not going to screw him out of money at the end so a bunch of his college fans can lie. I know he is my brand that I've attached my brand to in perpetuity. As long as his contract's run, I'm not going to hose him out of money to make your vengeful nature feel quenched. Pass. There's just not a perfect solution to this until you change your mindset. So, again, damn near perfect playoff. We do know that the opening round is going to be, the 20 and 21st of December next year? Going to be interesting to see. Going to be interesting to see when you have Southern teams go to Northern cities. I'm going to be fascinated to see if Michigan doesn't finish or Ohio State doesn't finish in the top four. If Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, if those teams are, 5, 6, 7, 8, if they're hosting SEC or cold weather schools, that's going to be interesting. Well, in one way you look at it, whoever's the non-power 5, the group of 5 conference champ is going to be the 12 seed. So you saw Liberty and Oregon, that could give you a little bit of a taste of what could be awaiting some of these 5-12 matchups. The thing is, the 12s, the little engine that could, is not going to. A couple years ago when Cincinnati almost got Georgia, when we saw Boise State get Oklahoma, the minute the playoff kicks in, sneaking up and opt-outs, that stuff's over. It's going to be damn near impossible for a MAC champ, a Sun Belt champ, a Conference USA champ to sneak up on the 5th best team in the country in a playoff, that 5th best team that's hosting. Last year's Tulane may be the last sucker you see like that for a long, long time. Long time. It's a little college football playoff perfection, as we bid adieu to the 4-team structure. Speaking of structure, NFL postseason, final week, a bunch of teams are resting their starters. By making the playoffs, you've earned that right. You've earned that right. Now, the Rams not playing their guys, they're the 6th seed. They could end up the 7 if they lose and the Packers win. So I get, once you get in, it's more important to rest some of your guys. I get it. I understand that. The Chiefs don't need to do anything. They can't go higher than the 3 seed, so they're going to rest all their guys. The top seeds, the Ravens and the Niners, are going to rest all their guys. The Cowboys can't. Lions really can't. Eagles still fighting for that 2 seed in the division, so they can't. Still plenty of reasons for a lot of these guys to play. But I wanted to do a little NFL pitch, what I think, given the teams that are still alive, not the perfect scenario, but the teams that are still alive, what the perfect opening weekend would be in the National Football League postseason. Not this weekend, but next weekend, heading into week 18, week 19. First of all, we know the Niners and the Ravens are in. So let's start in the NFC first. The best thing for the NFL is the Cowboys to win that division is the 2 seed, because you're looking for a potential Cowboys-Niners NFC matchup in the NFC Championship game. You can't ask for any more than that. Cowboys is the 2 seed. The 7th seed, the Packers. You want the Packers to make the playoffs and be that 7 seed. Packers, Cowboys, opening round. I mean, that's your prime time. I don't care what the other 5 matchups are. Cowboys, Packers, prime time in Dallas. Sunday night, check. I'm telling you, if those 2 teams, that is a done deal in one of the primetime matchups. The Rams is the 6th seed. Why? Lions is the 3, Rams is the 6. It gets you your Matt Stafford back to Detroit scenario. Now I'm giving you just the teams that are still eligible. Packers going to the Cowboys 7-2. Lions hosting the Rams 3-6. Perfect matchups across the board. Now, the one that's not the most exciting, but the one that is interesting, at least from a standpoint of, I don't know what we're going to get. The Saints, the Bucks, the Falcons, all kind of sitting there trying to get that 4th seed, win the NFC South, the NFC South. The only reason I'm going to pick the Bucks is because of Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield brings some excitement to the table. Mike Evans brings some excitement. Well, the Saints don't really have that. The Falcons don't really have that. The Bucks do with Baker Mayfield. And the Eagles have struggled enough. The Eagles having to go to Tampa, it could be interesting. And then the Eagles is the 5 seed. Eagles, Bucks. There's no real tradition in that. Not like the other matchups. Cowboys, Packers, Lions, Rams with the storylines. Bucks, Eagles. The Bucks, Eagles would probably be one of your first playoff games. That'd be the afternoon game on Sunday or Saturday. Early game. In the AFC, look, top seed, Ravens, done deal. 2 seed, again, the NFL pitch that I'm pitching you, the perfect postseason scenario, the Bills beat the Dolphins. Bills is the 2 seed because you want a Bills 2 seed hosting the Chiefs down the road type of setup. The Bills is the 2 seed is what you want. You want the Bills to beat the Dolphins and the Bills to be the 2 seed. Why? Because then the 7 seed's your Steelers. Steelers, Bills. It's a pretty solid opening matchup, right? In the AFC is a 2 versus a 7. The 3-6, Dolphins at the Chiefs. High-flying Dolphins offense in Kansas City. A chance to dethrone the Super Bowl champs. The Dolphins, for the longest time, have been told they can't win in cold weather. They can't win big games. Here you go, gang. Here's your chance. Here's your chance. Now you can sit there and say, well, the Bills in Kansas City, well, if the Bills lose, you don't really get them as the 6 against the 3. It's pretty damn near impossible for that to happen. Plus it hurts your steel. Then at that point, you're dealing with what? Then the Browns are already locked into the 5. You want the Steelers in. And basically how this has to work is the Steelers end up at Buffalo to make it the best scenario. Bills host the Steelers, Chiefs host the Dolphins, and then your other matchup where you got the Jags, you have the Colts, and you have the Texans all trying to win the AFC South, hosting the Browns. Well, what's your best case scenario there? Well, your best case scenario there is this. Texans win the division. CJ Stroud, young quarterback, healthy quarterback. Colts have a backup quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is injured. The Jags are banged up. The best matchup in the opening round would be the Texans and the Browns. So and look, this is setting up future games too. Your scenarios that you want. NFC. Niners are the bye. Cowboys hosting the Packers. Lions hosting the Rams. Eagles, Bucks. And it doesn't matter who wins the Eagles-Bucks games because it's a 5-4 scenario. And then in that scenario, what do you want to happen? Well, Niners win, Cowboys win, Lions and Rams. From that standpoint, well, in theory, what you'd like to have happen in that case is you'd like the Rams to win, because then the Rams would go to the 49ers and the Eagles would go to the Cowboys. So that's what you want in the AFC, in the NFC. That's the matchup, the wins that you'd like to have. And in the AFC, Bills, Steelers, you want the Bills to win that one. Chiefs, Fins, you want the Chiefs to win that one. Texans, Browns, you want the Browns to win that one from a rating standpoint. That way, then you have the Browns taking on the Ravens and the Bills hosting the Chiefs. The Browns and the Ravens, the former Browns taking on the current Browns, and the Bills and the Chiefs in the second round. These are the, again, as we lay out the perfect or the pitch, this is the postseason that you want to lay out if you want the best storylines. We're going to get those? No. Not all those things are going to happen. But I just laid out for you, in terms of consumption and storylines, the best products going forward. At least here in the opening stanza of the NFL postseason. One to wrap with this, and that is the coaching carousel, coaching call sheet. We do know, now there's interims in certain places. We do know that the Chargers are looking for a head coach. The Raiders have a vacancy. And who else has a vacancy? The Panthers. Those are the three that we know right now that have vacancies. The Pats may have a vacancy. Washington may have a vacancy. Now, if teams start hiring other teams' head coaches, that creates more vacancies. So under the scenario we look at, there's going to be 6 head coaching vacancies in the National Football League this year. 6, which we've seen as many as 9 over the years and as few as 4 the last decade. So 6 seems about right in the middle. The 6 we see are the Chargers, the Raiders, the Patriots, Washington, the Panthers, and then one will be created by the Patriots opening. So Belichick gone, Titans. I think Vrabel goes to New England. And I don't know what happens with Bill, but if I had to make a prediction, that's the first one. Belichick gone, Vrabel to New England. Then what? Well, then you need to fill the Titan slot. And the Titan slot, who? I got Frank Smith, offensive coordinator, Dolphins. Learned under McDaniel. Oh, he doesn't call plays. Well, McDaniel didn't call plays in San Francisco. So, to me, at least in this scenario, Frank Smith, he's your guy. So, I say Travis Smith. I'm looking at Frank Clark's name on here for some reason. Travis Smith, boom, is the next head coach. So, at least the Titans. So, let's start to lay the scenario out. So, the Pats get Vrabel. The Titans get Travis Smith. Okay. Other openings that we know at that point that will be open. Well, we know the Chargers are going to be open. There's Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh going into the Chargers. What does he have? He's going to have a top 10 draft pick. He's going to have Justin Herbert quarterback. He's going to have Pro Bowl defenders all over the place. If he would draft like Brock Bowers from Georgia to pair it with Justin Herbert, that receiving core, he could be pretty salty in a hurry out there. Harbaugh's the fit. LA Chargers, there's your fit. There's your fit for Jim. The Raiders, Antonio Pierce should promote him from within. Players love him. They've rallied around him. They still have some quarterback questions. Michael Penix Jr., I think, would be the type of guy that would fit in great with the Raiders, but that's a draft show down the road. But Antonio Pierce is the guy. That leaves Washington and the Carolina Panthers. To me, the Panthers, I wrote this down, Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator, Lions. Look what the Lions have done. Look at the Lions have done. Jared Goff, the resurrection, and you got a young quarterback in Bryce Young. You need to mold him. To me, Ben Johnson's the perfect guy to fit into that scenario. And then Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator of the Texans, he's the next head coach at Washington. He's young. He's 36. Washington can start anew, get a quarterback in there and build. So I've got 3 offensive coordinators getting jobs. Travis Smith, offensive coordinator of the Dolphins, he slides into the Titans. Offensive coordinator of the Lions, Ben Johnson, ends up with the Panthers. And Bobby Slowick, offensive coordinator with the Texans. He ends up being the head coach of Washington. Vrabel to the Pats. Antonio Pierce, interim tag removed with the Raiders. Harbaugh takes over the Chargers. And, of course, Bill Belichick's done. That's just kind of, I don't know. Could he get another job somewhere? Yeah, but under my scenario, that's it for him. Now, do I think that'll happen? No. I think somebody will hire him. Maybe. I don't know. 6 months ago, I'd have said yes. Now I'm not so sure. But to me, those are your 6 scenarios as we sit here in the first week of January. Harp on Sports, the Bar, podcast, media, audio, radio network. Follow, share, like, subscribe at Harp on Sports Twitter, at Harp on Sports Instagram, Harp on Sports. Of course, the auditory route, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Harp on Sports, the Facebook page, Harp on Sports, the YouTube channel, and of course, harponsports.com. Remember, stay clean, stay focused, stay strong. Frankenstein. Have fun with your friends.